So welcome again, and we're going to start with the introduction session. So after completing of this particular course, you should be able to understand uh, the Oracle database as a whole in terms of the SQL and PL SQL. You will be able to describe the Oracle server's implementation of RDBMS and object relational database system. You'll be able to identify the development environments that can be used in this particular course and the key features of Oracle SQL Developer and the schema used in this particular course. So let's look at what you should be able to do after completing of this particular course. Identify the major components of Oracle Database 12c. Retrieve row and column data from tables with select statements. Create reports and sorted unrestricted data. Employ SQL functions to generate and retrieve customized data. Run complex queries to retrieve data from multiple tables. Run data manipulation, as well as the data definition languages, DML and DDL. We'll be looking into that as we move along. What are those acronyms mean and what they can do in the database. So let's start with the introduction of the Oracle 12c database. Oracle Database 12c, the latest generation of the world's most popular database, is designed for the cloud and will be enable customers to make more efficient use of their IT resources while continuing to improve their users' service levels. Based on the new multi-tenant architecture and including a raft of enhancements and new features, Oracle Database 12c makes it easier for customers to take advantage of the cloud through consolidating multiple databases into multi-tenant containers, automatically optimizing data storage and compressions according to usage patterns, providing continuous access with Oracle's maximum availability architecture, securing enterprise data with comprehensive defense in-depth strategy, simplifying in-database analysis of big data, implementing Oracle Database as a service using enterprise cloud control. The idea behind this Oracle 12c is mainly a concept of hosting it on the cloud, wherein you can bring your own pluggable database and plug it into the main Oracle database. So the architecture is designed in such a way that you have a common database, a big common database, and you have various multiple pluggable databases. That's what you call it. And you can keep on plugging in n number of Oracle databases into it, and you can keep on accessing it. Oracle Database 12c benefits customers looking to reduce IT complexity and cost through deployment of private database clouds. That is the private database which I was talking about, the pluggable databases, and the SaaS environment, software as a service. We call it as. Vendors looking for power of Oracle in a secure multi-tenant model. The white paper highlights some of the capabilities in Oracle Database 12c that can help customers quickly plug into the cloud, as well as other enhancements in the storage management, availability, security, big data support, and database management that can help customers continue to get high return on their Oracle database investments. Now, there are several white papers which Oracle has released, and they can be easily available on the net. I can probably later down the course give you the links, and you can download it and read about more about Oracle Database 12c and its architecture. The architecture of Oracle 12c is not in part of the scope of the course, so we just going to focus on the focus areas as of now of Oracle 12c, which is the framework, infrastructure, information management, application development, cloud management, enterprise monitoring, hardware and virtualization, and lifecycle management. Our main focus is on the application development, where we are focusing on the SQL and PL SQL side of the application development. Although you have lots of other tools which you can use, like Oracle Apex, Oracle Forms Reports, Oracle Discoverer, Oracle Designer, and so on. But our focus for this particular course is SQL and PL SQL. So when you talk about Oracle database, we are talking about a relational and object relation database management system. So relation model and object relation model. You can define data types and objects. It's fully compatible with a relational database, and supports multimedia and large objects as well. High quality database server features. So when you're talking about the older days where we used to store information in a file cabinet or used to store in a electronic spreadsheets, call they are all called as data. The data used to be stored in a spreadsheet in the earlier days, or you would be storing into a files in a file cabinets. Yeah, each would be organized into a separate sections in the file cabinet, and so in the case of the electronic spreadsheet. So considering the entire volume of information which is called as data, they can be plugged and created in the Oracle database itself. So um, the Oracle database allows you to store all sort of information, including the images, binary information, as well as the normal data. So in the early 1970, Dr. E.F. Codd had proposed 12 rules of relational database management system so that it can qualify to be called as a relational database management system. It is the basis for the relational database management system, and the relation model consists of the following: collection of objects or relations, set of operators to act on relations, data integrity for accuracy and consistency. So that out of the 12 rules, Oracle basically satisfies almost all of them. Yeah. So that's why we have this relational database management system where you have relations between two-dimensional tables. You have many, you may be having many tables, but when you talk about relationship between these tables is that one table which is called as an entity in the ERD world, they are linked together through links. In this example, what you are seeing on the screen, we have departments as our master table, yeah, which is a primary table, and you may have a child table, which is an employees table. Yeah. So considering that you have a department table, okay, and you may have a child table below it. So for each record in the table, you may have a table called as employees or tables you talk about. So in our example, the departments is the master table, the employee is the child table. Example, in an organization, you may have one or many departments. Now these departments have employees or may not have employees. Initially, you may have employees or may not have employees. So the department is recorded into the departments table, department number 10 and department name is administration. Then you may have employees getting allocated to those. Yeah. So I may have a department 10 which is administration, and I have a new employee named as Steven, who is then linked to department number 10. He is allocated to department number 10. Like Nina Kochar may be allocated to department number 20. Dehan may be again allocated to department number 20, and so on. So that's how you start relating the data with another tables. And this is where how you try to create a relational database model system. Yeah, it's just a high level overview about what we are going to learn. So when does the idea start? The idea starts when the customer is having something in his mind and he wants to convert into a system. Yeah. So the analyst or the person who is gathering the requirements would go to the customer and try to understand the requirement what he has in his mind. Okay. He'll translate the entire requirement into a requirement document. After that, the analyst would try to discuss the information or the requirement with the designer, and they would try to come up with an ERD model. The ERD model is the model which you will be creating at a very high level, okay, which will show you the relationship between two or more entities. Yeah, the idea is actually transformed into an ERD, which is entity relationship diagram. Then the ERD is then transformed into a table model, the actual physical table. Yeah. And then the table is being then generated into Oracle server for capturing information into those tables. This table model is just a model before generating into the Oracle database as the actual physical tables. So the step goes all the way starting from an idea which can translate into an ERD model, and then into the actual table model which the database would then allow to capture the information. So the ERD model, as we were talking about, creates it's a relationship diagram for business specifications, what the customer has in his mind. Okay, so in the scenario, what we are talking about, the employee as the child table and the department as the master table. So you have the employee as the entity, that's what we call it in the ERD diagram. There is a link to departments saying that one department can have many employees, one or many employees. That's the relationship which is called as one to many. One department can have many employees. And there can be multiple departments, and multiple departments can have multiple employees. The and it As we talked about, the employee and the department is are called as entity, and the attribute is are the columns. Okay, the columns, what I meant is these ones. These are called as attributes. Okay, which will be eventually called as columns when you move into Oracle database. In the ERD, the terminology for these ones are called as attributes, and the entire whole thing is called as entity. Okay, and you can identify the primary key, that means the unique key, with an hash over here, as you see, and the asterisk would stand for not null. Okay, or a unique identifier. Okay, that's how it is called, with the asterisk, as you see. Okay, so this is just a high level overview about what an ERD looks like. Once you start learning more about a relationship diagram, then probably this will make more sense. So eventually, when the ERD is transformed into tables where the users can store the information into, then it is being generated into the Oracle database, allowing it to capture. In over here, in once the ERD is generated, the employee would be called as tables, and you have relationship with both the tables using a key called foreign key. The foreign key allows you to relate two tables together. So let's look at what the tables looks like and how do you interpret what each of them are. When you look at the number one, it is called as a row. The entire one is called as a row. Okay. The number two, which you see, that's called as a column. Okay, the column which you see is also a primary key. A primary key, I mean, is a identifier which is having values in it, and it cannot be empty. Okay, and it has to be unique, that it cannot have duplicates. So that is this is the column which has been defined in the table. The third one which you see, it's a number column. Okay, a number column, and a column which is required column. That means it cannot be empty. It is always required to enter some value into this uh, column. The fourth one, what you see, is the actual foreign key relationship. The department ID is a common column between those two tables. You have the table called departments. Okay, you have the column called departments. This department column, this column also has department ID, and this department ID is linked with particular department's department ID. So the number is telling you about a relationship which is called as foreign key, which is mapping to the department ID department's table. The fifth, the actual value is, you see, 60, which is the department's value, and it can also store. That means, if you see, it can also have values inside, which signifies there may be an employee who has joined the organization, but he is still not allocated to a department. So that's how the interpretation goes like. And the sixth one which you see, which is the commission percentage column, this particular column is a column which can have null values. Null values meaning it is not mandatory to have a value inside. Okay, so okay, so let's okay, so let's move further. So what is a SQL? Okay, what is a SQL? A SQL is called as a structured query language. It is the ANSI standard language for operating relational databases. It's efficient, easy to learn, and easy to use as well. So it's functionally complete. With SQL, you can define, retrieve, and manipulate data in the tables. So a simple select statement is like select some values from some table. Okay, so a table is where you have collection of information. Okay, and once you store information, you would probably want to retrieve as well. So the select statements, the SQL language allows you to retrieve information, also manipulate information. So when you look at the classification of SQL statement, this is very important to know at a very high level, that you have these four categories of classification of SQL statement. You have the DML, the DDL, the DCL, and the TCL. The DML stands for data manipulation language. It has the following commands: the select, insert, update, delete, and merge statements. Yeah. The DDL is a data definition language which has these commands: create, alter, drop, rename, truncate, comment. And the DCL, which is data control language, which has grant and revoke. And the TCL, transaction control language, which has commit, rollback, and save point. These are just, we are just trying to group them logically to identify that when I talk about DML, you should strike that we are talking about data manipulation language, which allows you to select and modify information. And when you're talking about DDL, we're talking about creating structures. Data control language, you're talking about the granting and the revoking, that is giving rights and revoking rights. And the transaction control is to basically save or revert back my changes. So we'll be probably coming back again and again to this particular slide especially, which will allow us to understand more of these commands much better. And I'll be frequently repeating DML, DDL, DCL, and TCL, and probably also talking about the commands within each of them. So in this course, we're going to look at two tools. These two tools are SQL Developer and SQL Star Plus. Yeah, SQL Developer is the UI based tool, and SQL Star Plus is a command line tool. So we'll be switching between both the tools so that we have the feel of both the environments. And so what is SQL Developer? A SQL Developer is a graphical tool that enhances productivity and simplifies database development tasks. You can connect to any Oracle database schema by using the standard authentication method. Yeah. So I believe the link for SQL Developer has already been sent to you. You can download SQL Developer. You don't have to install it. It runs by itself. Yeah. All you need is a Java runtime. Okay. Java runtime installed on your machine, because the entire SQL Developer is built in a Java language. If in case you don't have Java, please download it from the java.sun.com. The latest version should suffice for your connectivity issues with the Oracle database connection, which has been sent to you. The connection information is sent to you for 11G, but we are doing in 12C, as I mentioned earlier, that the commands what we do, the practice exercise which is given to you, everything should work in 11G as well. So let's talk about SQL Developer, and I will go back to my environment, which is this environment. Okay, I have the SQL Developer already installed. Okay, it's running in the Linux environment. Okay, we are in the Linux environment, and the SQL Developer is running in the Linux environment. The SQL Developer is platform independent, so it can run in any platforms because it is built in Java, and Java is platform independent. Yeah. So you have on the left hand side is the connection information where you can create new connections from here. When I click on say new connection, it will open up this dialog allowing me to create a new connection. Okay, you have to enter a name. You can give any name over here, that doesn't matter. The important things are the five important things which you need to know is the username, the password, the host name, the port number, and the SID. These five things are very important, allowing it to connect to the Oracle database which is provided to you. Yeah. um, if in case you are using the latest Oracle SQL developer, it also allows you to connect to a cloud connection. Okay, specifying the username and the URL where the Oracle database is, and you specify the username and the host name and the relevant port numbers. Yeah. But although we are having 12c database, but we have not hosted on the cloud, we are using from the local instance. Yeah. So you can set up a new connection with all the credentials information is given to you. You click on I'll show you one of my connections, and you can probably create something similar in yours. So I have my PDB ORCL connection. In your case it would be something else. Let me just go back and open the setup details which has given to you. Okay, you have been given, let us try that first. I'll create a new connection, and the connection name I can give as FT example. Username was given to me as SQL underscore dev, okay, which is given to you all. Welcome one is the password. The host name is 217.34.203.91 and the SID is DB11G. Once you do this, let us, and the port number is 1528, not 1521. Let us test the connection whether it works okay or not. It's showing me success, as you see at the status over here just before the help button. The status is success, means I'm able to establish a connection. I can click on save. The save will save the FT connections for my future transactions, yeah, or future connections. And then I can click on connect, which will allow me to connect to the Oracle database at FT at 11G. Okay, so when I expand the node, it may be a little slow because I'm using a remote desktop. So as you see, I'm now connected to Oracle database, and I can see all the information on the left hand side, which we'll talk about. But I will not be using my FT connection. I'll be using my own specific connection, which is PDB ORCL, yeah, which is connecting to the Oracle 12c database. That is what we want. So if I just give you an overview about SQL Developer, on the left hand side you have the connection pane. On the right hand side you have the worksheet. The worksheet is where you will write all your commands. Okay, you have lots of options on the top, starting with executing the query and running the query as a script, commit, rollback, and saving the query, etc. A typical menu bar which you will see is open a new SQL worksheet, and you can save your queries for later retrieval. You have edit, cut, copy, paste, standard operations. There are some options over here which you'll be learning, not in this course, probably sometimes later also when you try to explore more on SQL Developer. All of these things is not required initially. The important ones you will see is DBS output. Yeah, this is one of the important ones which you'll be using more oftenly. SQL history we should be looking into mainly, and obviously you will have this run option, and obviously this SQL worksheet is very important. On the left hand side, lot of nodes are available which we'll be exploring as we go along. Yeah, there's typically the tables, the views, the packages, procedures, functions, etc., which we'll be exploring as we go along. So coming back over here to the presentation, most of the things is mentioned as part of the slides. And to establish a connection, you must have at least one database connection information. You can create and test connections for multiple databases, multiple schemas, and you can also save your information into an XML file also. But these are not required. It is just for information. I was just talking about the creation of the connections, and you can test your connections by setting up the information given to you, and then we can start exploring the database objects. The SQL worksheet I was mentioning about, where you will be actually writing your SQL statements and PL SQL statements. And the information on the screen shows about how running the first one shows how execute the command. The second one is executing as a script. Third one is commit. Fourth one is rollback. Fifth one is stop executing the query. Sixth one is the SQL history, I believe. The seventh one is using yeah, I don't remember all the same. This is all about, one sec, auto trace and explain plan. Yeah, I have not memorized these symbols. And then the tuning advisor, and you can clear the entire statements. And as I told you, the SQL history, which stores all the information of the select statements you have written so far. Now if you move further, you can have shortcut keys also, like F5 will execute as a script, F9 will execute the current statement where the cursor is. Yeah, so you can memorize these two shortcut keys of the keyboards. And you can also format the SQL code, which I'll show you after this slide, or whenever we start writing SQL statements. What do I mean by formatting? Yeah, and you can save the entire work in a SQL file. Okay, that's a text file. Basically, it can be opened in a notepad or any other ASCII tool. Yeah, and you can run the entire script as a whole, which will be also doing it as we do some practice. So just for your information, that we can run the script with all the commands. The script may have 10-15 commands, and you can just run the script entirely, or you can run individual commands at individual levels. Okay, now you can also invoke the SQL Star Plus from the SQL developer using this method, but we will not use that. Okay, we can directly open it. I'll show you. You can use this option to open external tools. Yeah, external tools will be pointing it to SQL Star Plus, but we don't need. We can go to the command line and accesses. So this is my command line of Linux. Okay, and I can say SQL plus and the connection, which is hr/hr@pdb orcl. You may not be able to do it. Sorry, I think I made a mistake. SQL plus hr/hr@pdb orcl. I'll explain what does it mean. Yeah, the SQL plus command line will appear only if you have the command line set up and if you have a client installed on your machine. You may not have it because you are going to access through SQL developer. So if you don't have, need not worry about, because SQL developer will cater for all your needs. Yeah, this is just to show you that we can also access from the command line, which is either from Windows and command line or from the Linux or the Sun Solaris, whatever it may be. Now, as you see, the SQL Plus is the exe basically, which will allow me to connect to the SQL Plus command line. Username is HR in my case, password is also HR, and the connection is PDBORCL. At the rate is the connection string. The PDBORCL meaning, what does it mean is, if you look at the properties of PDBORCL in my SQL developer, if I look at the properties, the it includes the username, the password, and the entire network alias for TNS entry, etc. So basically, what we're talking about, it includes the host name, the port number, the SID, the username. No, username and password is not included. Only the host name, the port number, and the SID is included as part of the TNS entry, which is one of the files located in the file server, which you may not have access to because you are going to use the FT environment. Okay, but if you install locally in your environment, you will have access to TNSM entry, which I'll show you in next few minutes. Yeah, so okay, let's see it in the first place. If I open the another session and I say cd Oracle home, so if I look at the path, It's not, my hyphen is not appearing. Yeah. Okay. There's a directory called, this directory is similar to Windows directory also, right? So you don't have to worry about it. There's a directory called network. Okay. So if I show you the entire path, you have to check the Oracle directory. It's Oracle product 12.1, or it may be 11.1, whatever it may be. DB home, whatever database home is. There's a network folder. In the network folder, there would be a folder called admin. Okay. And in the admin folder, there's a file called tnsnames.ora. Okay. This is a very important file which will store the information about the connection string. So if I say, you will see this is the PDB-ORCL which I have defined. Okay, it has the connection to the local host, the port number, and the service name PDB-ORCL. This is similar information what we type in the SQL developer also, as you have noticed. Similar information, same thing, host name, the port number, and this thing. These are the arguments, and username password is not never stored in the TNS names Aura. It is just the definition that this is the address, this is the host, this is the port number, and this is the service name. So eventually it builds up this particular string and allows you to connect, and that is why I'm using @PDB-ORCL. If you see over here, this is what I'm using, PDB-ORCL. Same thing. So it knows that which server I have to connect, what is the username and what is the password. I'll just close this. So TNS names is a very important file. Just for your reference, you may or may not have access to it. So as we see, we are connected to Oracle Database 12c Enterprise Edition, release 12.1 is the first release, and we are in the 64-bit production environment. Yeah, and that whenever you connect from SQL Plus, it will give you all this information that where you are connected. So it's very easy to identify that's which database you are connected to, and you get a feel of the new database as well. Okay, moving further. That's what we're talking about, the 12c command line interface, and you can invoke from the SQL developer as well. So this is the schema which we are going to use in the entire course, which is the HR schema. Schema is basically the information where all the tables are located. Okay, it may be called as a user as well. Okay, user and schema are one and the same thing. So if I talk about HR user, then you are talking about HR schema. Okay, one and the same thing. You will have all these tables in your database as well. So if I show you what are the tables, this is, if I explore, you will see the countries table, the department, the employees, the job history, the jobs, the locations and regions, etc. All these informations are available in the database, and that is what the schema, what you're going to use it in the entire course. Same thing, yeah. And tables used in this course are employees, department, job grades, etc. So just to wrap up this particular lesson, which is the summary lesson, which talk about the benefits of cloud computing and existing information management capabilities, and database is an ORDBMS, and it's composed with many relational and managed relation operation databases. And you can also log in to the oracle.com and the homepage of Oracle 12c, and you can also look at the documentations online for more information which we wanted. So if you have any questions, you can just put up on the chat window and I can probably try to answer those questions. So by this we end this particular lesson of the introduction session of Oracle 12.